Hey everyone, Larissa here, wanting to share a little bit about our meditation focus of the month. We've been working with the 8 limbs of yoga. We'll continue that out through the rest of the year. But the first 2 limbs are really behaviors that we can exhibit and work with in the world. That's the yamas and the niyamas. That's the first and second limb of yoga. Last month we worked with the yamas. And reminder, the word yama oftentimes is translated as restraint or control. But it's not about controlling our behavior to try to be a certain way. It's oftentimes this subtle translation that we miss, that it's actually not allowing yourself to be controlled by. So sometimes we're controlled by other people's, what they think of what we should be doing in the world, or some version of who I think I'm supposed to be in my mind, and that can control my behavior in the world. So this idea of working with the yamas and niyamas, it's not just working with control and restraint, it's working with disallowing myself to be controlled by sometimes the untrue things that live in my mind. So these behaviors that we work with, again, last month we worked with the yamas, this month is niyamas. Ni, that little precursor to yama, means in and down. So now it's the inner behaviors, whereas the yamas are more external behaviors. They cross over, but just a note on what we're practicing. So yamas and niyamas. Niyamas, there's 5 of them, just like the yamas. And these are 5 practices that we can work with within ourselves. We're starting with the first one is sokha or saucha, and that oftentimes is translated as purity or cleanliness. What I'm going to share here is just the most common translation, and you'll build more depth if you can join us in the morning meditation. So that first one is saucha or cleanliness. The second one is samtosha, which is contentment. And it doesn't necessarily mean happiness, but looking at feeling content with who you are, essentially. The next 2 really work very well together. We have the tapas and the swadhyaya. And tapas is sometimes translated as fire, but it is self-discipline, and not the kind where you're forcing yourself to, quote, be good, but it's the wise effort that we're choosing of how do we want to be in the world, how do we want to take care of ourselves. We have swadhyaya, and that's self-study, getting to know yourself at a very deep level. And then the 5th one is isvara pranidhana. It's somewhat tough to translate, but oftentimes you'll hear it translated as surrender. Essentially, it is surrendering to the highest version of yourself, not the version that when you wake up in the morning, it's telling you you're never going to get enough done and you suck a little bit. Not that version. We're building a relationship with that version of ourself that we can see truthfulness, we can feel and experience love. We're offering the best of ourselves, and it's the practice of surrendering to that version of ourselves. So it certainly takes practice, and we can take those 5 niyamas and take our yoga off our mat and figure out how do we navigate this ever-changing world, and then our ever-changing inner world. Every day that we take a breath, we're changing and growing, and these are 5 tools that we can utilize to help support us in that growth.